it's possible that there will be protests today, but that this is normal in the cycle of any nation state, whereby we're asking certain questions about what should happen when the security of the people is not guaranteed and or maintained. So we'll be looking into protests, Mandamano, and what could possibly happen today and why that is all taking place. Joining us in the studio this morning, political activist Wanjiru is here with us today. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, fellow Kenyans.
Karibu Sana, thank you for being here this morning. A number of things to look into today. Stella Agara is also going to join us at some point. She is one of the people who said, you know what? And I would like to hear her say when she comes. She said, by all means, if what you were promised is not happening, you have every right to come out and protest about it, because maybe that is the language that anybody is going to listen to. But as we do, we normally look into a proverb from a different African country. You know this. And we're going to put you to work this morning. The proverbs this week come from the ancient and modern society of Egypt. And it's, like I said, a beautiful marriage between the old, the traditional, I don't want to use the word old, but the ancient and traditional society and the new, novel, modern society, a blending of both cultures. And the proverb for today, interestingly enough, is one that I think, I thought about it later and I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense for me. So the proverb today, Wanjiru, is... Oh, okay, where did it go?
If you
I've lost it even.
The soup.
What's wrong with me? Okay, just a minute here, and I'm just going to get it in a minute. It disappeared, and I don't know where it went. He who burns his tongue from soup will blow in yogurt. He who burns his tongue from soup will blow in yogurt.
That's interesting. He who burns his tongue in soup will blow in yogurt. Wow. He who burns his tongue in soup will blow in yogurt. So soup must be something nice, right? But yogurt is also nice,
Isn't it?
Yeah. So I am struggling to understand how they will. He who burns his tongue in soup.
Assume the soup is hot, so it's burning your tongue.
Yeah, okay, okay, I get it.
Good.
So if you burn your tongue in soup, then you're gonna look for the yogurt.
There you go. It was gonna come. So if you would take that and apply it somewhere else, how would you do that?
If you find yourself in hot soup, you're gonna have to try and divert to what's going to calm down the situation. And I think this applies to the government of the day. They are in hot soup with the people of Kenya right now, and they better find the yogurt
to cool down the heat.
To cool down the heat, because
Amazing.
It's very hot.
It's very hot at the moment.
It's very hot. We are very angry as Kenyan citizens.
Okay, well, let's get into that a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
Why? Why are Kenyans angry at this point? And it's interesting because I'm looking out the window to my right and it's coming down in sheets, this rain. And you said something when we started when we started this, and you said, does the government even control the weather?
Yeah, because I'm beginning to notice a pattern that every time we are coming out to protest, there's a little bit of challenge with weather. But today it's like coming down heavy. And I just ask myself, wait a minute, could they also be having a hand in this? I mean, there have been claims of weather manipulation. So could this be... Have they finally gotten it?
I can see your conspiratorial self is coming out to play today. Why are Kenyans angry at this point? And is it a new anger, or is it an anger that has been there for a while under the surface, but then this presents an opportunity for it to come out?
And do you remember we had the protests, Finance Bill 2025, because of overtaxation? And a lot of young people actually died during that process. And our hope was that the government would listen. Yeah. I mean, there were very serious actions towards government representatives.
Yeah.
Some of them, their businesses were affected, their offices were torched. But come 2026, nothing has changed. It has probably gotten worse. We are having a fuel crisis that has been orchestrated by this government. The G2G government deal that was supposed to subsidize fuel prices has made it even worse. Our healthcare system is pathetic. Doctors on XTL have been highlighting the crisis of healthcare. 2 young Kenyans were shot dead in Embu for protesting the state of Ishara Level 4 hospital. We are angry because police brutality has continued to be a thing. Overtaxation has continued to happen. Parliament has continued to be captured by the elite. Cost of living is not coming down. And on the other side, the government is still stealing billions of monies, wasting resources. There's the SHA, 15 billion. Kindiki is spending millions of money on helicopters. Oh my God. It's outrageous.
It's enough to get anybody angry, isn't it?
And then Gaucho is now a board member at Mama Lucy Hospital. Like the government is saying Kenyans for a joke. It's almost like they're inciting us to go to the streets. And this time round, Kenyans are saying, we don't even want RT reforms. We don't want RT, we're rejecting fuel prices. We want this government to go. These fuel prices are just like a starter, like just to have people. You remember like how June 18th for Reject Finance Bill was the first day of the protest. Today was supposed to be that day that ignites the new wave for Ruto must go, because no, we've had it up to here.
Okay, so you've laid the ground as to why Kenyans are angry and saying, you know what, we're going to come out into the streets. Stella's here. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Well, thank you for that you could join us today. The rain is coming down, like we've said, and Wanjiru believes that somebody has a hand in this to stop people from coming out to the street to protest. The last time you were here, Stella, you said something to the effect of, absolutely, if the government is not doing what it's supposed to do and what it said it would do, 100% you must protest, you must speak out, you must say something. Do you still hold the same view?
I will always hold that opinion as long as our constitution allows for us to hold protests, for as long as our constitution allows us to picket, allows us to petition different government agencies. I will also always speak about that even when the constitution does not allow that to happen, but people live in a repressive environment. Because at the end of the day, governments are created to create order. Governments are established to create order. When governments fail to create order, the citizens normally have a constitutional way of removing governments. In the event that that way does not work, then it basically means the citizens have to find another way to create government. At the end of the day, constitutions are made by people. They're supposed to serve people. And if the constitution as it is not able to protect people, then I guess the people themselves must rise and make a decision about their futures. The other thing is that I think I have been on record in this studio saying that you cannot delay the aspirations of a certain sector of your population for a very long time and hope that they're going to become enough to continue queuing quietly and hoping that someday you're going to allow them to benefit. At the end of the day, especially for Kenya, we've had politicians telling youth in this country that power is not given, it is taken. You know, it is grabbed. And so I guess they have woken up to grab the power. Though I think the state has been extremely responsible about the grace period that they had since June 2024, in the June 24th, 2023. Yeah. They have been extremely responsible about the grace they've been given. Everything that they needed to reform, nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, maybe we no longer see the CS interior with flashy watches, or maybe we do, but he doesn't talk about them. But we still see them expending, and I just found my sister talking about some of the expenditure that we're observing from government. So you've tightened, you've stopped bragging, but you've not tightened your belt. So you're still consuming, and the people of the nation who pay taxes are watching you and salivating, and all they can do is salivate. PLO once made a speech while I was hosting a conference. We were calling it the Kenya Anti-Corruption Conference. I was working for the Africa Youth Trust at the time. And I remember he said, for a poor person, actually, first of all, he gave grades of poor people, and he was giving the names of poor people. And the poorest in Swahili, he called Mpwamu. And he said, but for this kind of person, if you're wearing a Calvin Klein shirt, as far as they're concerned, it looks like a handkerchief. And they can use it to wipe their mucus. I suspect that's what is happening to the government of Kenya.
Interesting. And of course, we are seeing young people organizing Wanjira and lots of things that really push the youth beyond just government action. But do you think that, is there anything that government is doing around and about the things that are troubling the youth?
Of course not. There's absolutely not. What the government is doing is frustrating young people. You've seen even young people excelling, for example, in sports. Our Kenyan who won the skating championship.
Yeah.
He did not receive any government support. We have been talking about unemployment. There has been zero efforts. In fact, my friend Sophie was talking about how government's employment or version of Kazim Tani is hiring goons. We have seen them become very prominent in political spaces. It's almost like it's being mainstreamed that this is how we are doing Kenyan politics. So we are trying to push back by, in fact, rallying people to kukua kadi. You have seen young people engaging in taking voter registration seriously because they have been saying young people are not registering to vote. So tumekuwa tukifanya tuko kadi activations across the country, Busia, Siaya, Kitale, Nairobi, and that has been going on very well, and having conversations amongst ourselves and creating those networks across the country because we will need them. We are consolidating the youth constituency for collective action.
Have you met any young person who's benefited from Nyota, the government program for youth empowerment?
Yes.
What is their story like?
That money cannot start a business. That money is a loan that we are going to pay back. So it was just to spend kidogo and go back to lived realities.
Stella, I'm wondering because you and I know the kind of, and all of us, the kind of organizing that young people are doing. And we know that you can many times demonstrate, picket, do all of these things. And the Constitution of Kenya allows that to happen. But for how long will this happen? What is it that we are not doing that we need to be doing? Yes, we have organized, we have picketed, we have petitioned, we have demonstrated. As Wanjira says, they're not listening. They're just going on with their businesses. But for how long will this continue to go on?
First of all, let me start by celebrating the fact that you have not asked me the question about Nyota. Because
I will ask you another one.
because I am privy to some privileged information that may be very discouraging to this nation on a day when you're fighting a different battle about fuel.
Yeah.
But this is what I'll say. You know, sometimes the struggle is not short. And the good thing with you, Osido, is that you were here when we were fighting for our constitution.
Yes.
And for some of us, it was our first even attempt at ever fighting for anything in this nation. And we were so proud to be associated with the fight for the constitution of Kenya. And I think we were not playing the biggest role. There are people who played bigger roles. And for most of us, millennials, we saw Njoya being beaten up next to a pavement, and someone truly clubbed that man properly.
Close to a church.
And you didn't need to be there to know that the man was in pain. But he took the pain, and we managed to get a constitution as a result of the pain he took. And there's a list, a raft of procedures that were taken by different people, actions that were taken by different people in order to get us to the place where we are right now. We made a mistake. We elected a government that was determined, continues to be determined to mistreat Kenyans. And so, unfortunately, one of the things that must happen is that we must continue to, wriggle in this struggle, and we're trying to wriggle to create room, first of all, for us to maneuver. Then once maybe we get our heads up in the air and we're able to grasp some oxygen, we are hoping that we're going to break this tent and ensure that we are standing outside in fresh air. How long will that take? I cannot dictate. What will dictate how long that will take is the anger of Kenyans, is how thirsty Kenyans are for change, and what kind of action are they willing to take to reach that level of change. I am very, very aware of the fact that there are very many people whose agency has been reduced, especially by the fact that they spend a lot of time in front of this technology that slows down the frontal cortex and causes people to be less sensitive to things that they need a little bit more agency on. And so I'm very aware that there are people who, even though they may have exercised better agency before, they don't have the capacity to do so now, and they may need something bigger to jolt them. I also trust the capacity of this government to give Kenyans that reason. Because I found Wanjira just talking about the number of things that are going wrong, and how each one of them is extremely jolting. But then for some reason, they keep finding a new way to upset Kenyans. So I trust this government 1,000% to find something that is going to upset Kenyans so bad that they're going to overturn this government. One thing I know for sure, either action on the streets or action on the knees of Kenyans is going to send this government home.
Do you think that protests, mandamano, work?
The first place I'll go to is the OTNOP campaign, and I'm not going to discuss the OTNOP campaign in detail because I want to bring it back home. You have a people who have been repressed for a very long time, and they make a decision that they want to go out and protest, and their government is pushing back. And for those people who are familiar with it's called OTNOP or OTPOR. For those who are familiar with it, the pressure was sustained for days, and part of the lessons that have been learned about protests all over the world are about sustaining pressure on a government that does not listen. The longer you hit the rock, at some point water is going to come out. And I think that's the principle with protests. Does it always have to be about protests? No. Should governments constantly bring their citizens to a place where they're having to clamor every day for what is their right? No. If we have found ourselves at a place where our governments believe that we must clamor for everything, then maybe we need to do overhauls. And I think I heard Wanjira talking about the fact that at this point, maybe we should be saying, clean up everyone. We don't even want institutional memory of this nonsense. Let's just find new people. The beauty of it is that we have a school of government that can train new people, and possibly if there are new people who will be telling them we are not going to learn anything from you about corruption. I don't know if it's taught at KSG, I doubt it. But they'll basically be saying we are coming in to change this country and we need to change this country. What is that exam that they need to do? Have we set it as Kenyans? Do we have the yardsticks based on which you're supposed to be assessing these people so that we choose the right people to take those jobs? I think we have been speaking about them for some time, but we have not consolidated the questions into one paper. If we can do that in between now and the end of this year, so that everybody must pass that exam for them to qualify to be in government. And every time I've sat in this studio, one of the things I've done is to say anybody who has been accused of corruption, forget about anybody who has been proven guilty. Anybody who has been accused of corruption, let's make it so expensive to even be accused of corruption, that even when someone gets accused, they are going to be rushing to court to rush the court system to clear them so that they'll be able to vie. Anybody who, and I'm saying that because the IEBC may clear them. The law allows the IEBC to clear them until they're proven guilty. But for as long as they have been accused of corruption, for as long as they've been accused of embezzling funds, for as long as you've seen them in any form of impropriety, do not vote for them even if they're on the ballot. Just do not vote for them. And forget about how much of a mtuenu they are. Because for me, if you speak my mother tongue, if you speak Luo, and yet you are willing to eat money and cause my relative, my cousin, my friend to die in hospital, then you're not Luo enough. There are certain rules that Luos live by. You're not supposed to kill. As a matter of fact, Osido will tell you, we have to go through a process of cleansing just because someone died in your name. You may not even have killed them, you just pushed them, but they went and died in hospital. So if you're claiming to be my brother and Nawenim Tuetu, but then you are participating in eating funds meant to feed patients in hospital, then you're not a Luo. If you're going to be saying Unim Tuetu, how Wetu is your person? Are you people criminals? Are you animals? Do you kill people in your community?
Do you steal money that's meant for children to go to school?
That is meant for children to go to school. If you don't, if you truly value education and your community and your traditions have a mechanism for educating people, then anybody sabotaging education is your enemy, irrespective of how much they speak your language. Because even in your mother tongue, they will still rob you.
Wanjira,
I'd like to weigh in on the question you asked about protests. I've been protesting for the past decade against police brutality for a better country, and I've come to the logical conclusion that reforms are not going to work.
Reforms will not work in Kenya?
Reforms are not going to work.
Is it protests or reforms?
I've come to the logical conclusion that our problem is systemic failure. So it is the system that needs to be overhauled. We have been complaining about police brutality in independent Kenya This is what was happening in colonial Kenya when natives were being oppressed and killed and beaten. The same way today Kenyans are oppressed and killed and beaten and stolen from. So today's Kenya mirrors colonial Kenya. So what we need to do is birth a new republic of Kenyan people for the Kenyan people where we can breathe. We feel so choked by this Ruto's administration.
So as we talk about this choking, and today we are focusing on back to the streets, what are the new demands? It's today, it's starting today. What are these new demands?
Ruto must go continues to be the number one demand, to be very honest with you, because we have seen issue-based protests do not yield any results.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because somebody gave, and I think it's interesting because she's going to come here later today, and she said, you know what, right now, because explanations have been asked of the president himself, that if all you're saying is that Ruto must go, surely you must have something else to say. And it's interesting because she said, well, we're going to liken it to the 1-year-old in the room who is causing havoc. You're not having a conversation with this 1-year-old and saying, why are you doing this? Because by the time they've pulled this, the thing is hanging, the chandelier is hanging. What you need to do at that moment is get the child out of the room. And then now you can start to fix things, or you can try. Is this the analogy that you would use to say we can't have let's remove what could be the cause of the problem from the room first, then we can discuss other things because the damage continues to be so bad?
Absolutely. I want to agree with that analogy because Ruto has proven to Kenyans that he will never, ever listen. Though, as we speak right now, the fuel that's out there has sulfur levels 4 times the agreed or the accepted amount, meaning we are putting Kenyans into risk. This is by intention, by design, because they want more money. I mean, our healthcare system, the corruption that goes in there is murder for the Kenyan people. I mean, the situation for Kenyan people continues to deteriorate. So we cannot continue sitting pretty and waiting. We need to get this toddler out and fix what needs to be fixed in the room.
And because Kenya is a democracy, they will say that, hey, the president can go in three, it's actually 3 forms, either by natural attrition, by impeachment, or by election. And now we have a very gracious moment for young people to organize themselves around the voter registration process. How is that going? I'm sure you are part of the Nikokadi crew.
Yes, I am.
How are they organizing to ensure that Ruto must go is through the ballot, if that is probably the way out?
So there are 2 ways for us to take Ruto out. The Maandamano way, which is enshrined in Article 1 of the Kenyan Constitution, all sovereign power belongs to the Kenyan people. So if all Kenyan people decide on Friday morning or on Tuesday morning, all mothers, all young people, all children, all men, everybody who cares about this country will be on the streets on this day until Ruto is gone. We are covered by the Constitution of Kenya to exercise that. Secondly, even when we do that, we are still going to have to go to the ballot. We are still going to have an election, which is why we are rallying young Kenyans. Kuchukua kadi, kupiga kadi, na kulinda kadi. We're also having civic and political education. I was in Nyanza region, which is the broad-based government, and we had to have a lot of conversations on why it must be 1 term and Ruto must go. And just after a small conversation, watu wanakuwa 1 term, unamwonyesha the economic effects of having another 5 years of Ruto, and immediately that broad-based thing gets out of their head. They're like, hey, kama ni hivyo basi, Ruto must go. So it's civic and political education. It's inducting young Kenyans to core ID, because that's also a major problem we have had. And the things that are coming out are irregularities. My Mount Kenya tongue. With the IEBC, tunapata, some people are going to register as first-time voters, and they find they have already voted in the system before. So this is something that IEBC is going to have to address. People who are dead are still in the voter registry. That is something IEBC is going to have to address. So as we are doing Tukokadi, we are finding some things that we are raising with IEBC to address that before we go into an election.
Yeah, and Stella, talking about the elections and young people, we saw in 2022 that about 8.2 2 million youth did not wake up to cast their votes. And right now we are seeing this, I would call it the excitement. In other quarters, they would say the hula baloo around Nico Kadi, let's do this thing. Are these people going to wake up to cast their votes in 2027, August, 2nd Tuesday?
I'm trying to find something that is not too important to me to bet, but I think I'll bet almost everything that they'll wake up to vote.
Okay.
And the reason why I think they'll wake up to vote is because in 2022,
Yeah.
we may have been having an election that was a bit dicey in terms of the issues, but Kenyans are not feeling the pinch of the economy. They had been buffered, there were subsidies, there were ways that they were covered, and so they were not feeling the weight of the economy at the time, despite the fact that our troubles had already started. And so today, having a capitalist in power who doesn't care about buffering you, they now know exactly where they have been in the last couple of years. And so many of them have been forced to come out and start thinking about what kind of country they want to have and what kind of economy they want to have. And then the moment they start thinking about what kind of economy they want to have, they realize that in this nation, you don't even have permission to think about the economy because it has owners. And so you have to fight your way into that conversation. Then when you get there, you have to answer several questions to determine why you're worthy to participate in the conversation. By the time you're participating in the economy, you have forced your way, you're fighting people who think you are undeserving of being in that space, and you're exhausted. And so many of Kenyans are finding themselves extremely exhausted. A good portion of Kenyans are finding themselves disillusioned. Disillusioned because the conversations we're having are about billions.
Yeah.
There is someone who does not even understand the conversation about millions, so they don't know what you're talking about when you're speaking about billions. Some may understand billions, but they have become numb to the number of times we're being told this number of billions are lost here, these are lost here. And then sometimes you meet government officials who are laughing and saying, nyinyi mnapenda sana kucheza na pesa. Do you know what a billion is? So when they ask you that question, they hope that they have addressed the entire issue.
Yeah.
And as I was coming this way, one of the things I thought to myself is that the biggest shortcoming of Ruto's government is the fact that they have failed miserably on communication. Communication is what you tell the publics. Communication is also what you do not tell the publics and what they do with it. They have allowed a lot of information to exist in the grapevine because they need the grapevine to be busy to also churn out their own narratives and their propaganda. Unfortunately, that has worked against them tremendously. So assuming there was anything good about Shah, it is impossible for you to hear it in the current situation in Kenya. Assuming there was anything good that the president is doing, it is impossible for you to hear it in this Kenya. And then they are misbehaving about public communication, public relations, at a time when every human being with a phone is able to communicate something at any one point. So we heard about this road and we were all making a noise about it, Rironi, I don't know where, whatever. And then yesterday, just some innocent woman who didn't even show their face, so they don't even need to be popular, was saying, just make this road for us and we will keep quiet, So if everybody even has the capacity to debunk the lies you have told, what more do you have left? One of the things that gentlemen do, especially those who are in democracies, is that when they have lost the trust of the people, they don't wait to be forced out. They step down. That's what gentlemen do.
Stella, as we went to the break, said, you know what? You would expect that he would do the gentlemanly thing and take your leave. But when has that ever happened? Or is it beyond expectation that somebody will say, okay, you know what? Clearly, the kitchen is too hot. And we need to leave the room. But that doesn't happen. We've had people who've sworn and said, over my dead body will I resign, over things that would be expected to say you were in. And I tweeted something the other day. Do we still tweet or do we X? Anyway. And I said, if you have no business offering yourself up to fix a situation that you contributed to ruining, does that make any sense? Because here we are and we are saying people are going to the streets because they're not bored. They do not have anything to do on a Tuesday morning, but they're still vested in their existence as a Kenyan people. And they're saying, you know what? We cannot continue continue in this situation. So guess what? We will leave our work, we will leave our business, we will leave our learning and come out into the streets so that perhaps you will hear what it is that we're saying. And it might sound crazy, but I think to an extent, Kenyans want the government to do well. Kenyans desire, yearn for the president to do well. And I dare say that if he was, Kenyans wouldn't have a problem.
Absolutely. Last year, in the June 2025 memorial protests, Kenyans were done. We were going to State House. Some of my friends got to that path for State House. Wali have kuruka kwa fence when police started advancing. On Sabasaba, every year for Sabasaba, the social justice movement has always organized a maandamano. But last year's Sabasaba protest, nobody organized those maandamanos. Kenyans themselves came out. I think it's the day we woke up and found that we were ring-fenced with the Sengenge outside Parliament, and he'd shut down the whole country. People would not go out. So the issue about wanting Kenya to work has always been there. The issue about wanting, even paying taxes, is not something Kenyans have a problem with, as long as they are going into healthcare, into education, into development, into things that actually make sense to us. What the president is doing is building stadiums. How often are Kenyans inside a stadium? In a year, in 365 days. All the money is going towards those ghost big projects that really do not concern us as Kenyan citizens as much as healthcare does, as education does, as food, prices of fuel do. So this is why we are saying we cannot continue writing, petitioning. We have had so many petitions, protesting for issue-based things that needs to be addressed. Now we are going to come out and actually remove. Maybe I am advocating for Kenyans to toke nje, tuchukue nchi yetu. It's in bad hands. It's in hands of people who are enemies of the people at this point. Enemies of the people. Because you remember, let's take something as simple as the seed bill. It was you cannot trade seeds with fellow Kenyan. You have to buy from the government. It's GMO seeds.
And you can't bank.
So Kenyans went to court and fought this. And the court of appeal, and the court ruled in favor of Kenyans. The government appealed this decision. That no. Kenyans have to. Like, come on. What is wrong with this government? Kanona here, we're having Israelis settle in our land. This is colonialism 2.0. Israel has killed Palestinians en masse as we speak right now. How are you telling me that Kenya is offering a home for these people who have a terrible history of occupying foreign land and killing inhabitants? They will start telling us stories of it was promised to us by God. So we are feeling very vulnerable as the people of Kenya with this kind of government as at now. We are looking at our future and feeling we have to do something. We have to come out. We have to stop this madness immediately, because the people in power do not seem to have the foresight for what the future of the country looks like. We are young people. In the next couple of years, these people will not be there. What kind of country are we inheriting? That is our worry, Joe. And that's why we are fighting. And that's why we are organizing. And that's why we will take this government out. So many of us are feeling like 2027 is way too far to keep waiting. So even as we are rallying people to take the vote, the streets continuously seems to be like the only way out. Because we have seen the streets scare them out. We've seen the streets, put a little bit of fear in them. But now we are feeling like, I wish hatungewacha hiyo time tulikuwa tunaandamana. Tungemalizana na hiyo story once and for all. We go into an election. So this time round, and I really wish it did not rain. I really wish today was the first day of maandamano, so that we start building that momentum. What is needed is just a spark. Because ndo tumechoka. Kabisa.
Haven't we had enough sparks, Wanjira? Because talking about fuel prices, it's not the first time this is happening. There's even a time when, any Kenyan with a vehicle was told, drive them to the streets, leave them there, walk and go. It never happened. In a few streets, we saw people trying it. The fear of being abducted, being arrested, being done this and that. You just, what Stella calls weekend agency. You just fizzle it off. Look at being fed with unga, which is rotten. Kenyans have been pushed to the core. Look at the kind of mercury in sugar and mercury that we've been fed with. Kenyans have been tried and tested, pushed to the end of it. Aren't there better sparks? Isn't there a moment when Kenyans will say, Sasa hii, enough is enough?
Every push adds fire. Every push adds fire. Every push adds fire. And there's no way you can expect to continue oppressing people. They will snap at some point, and the snap is coming. You cannot continue stepping on my toe and stepping and stepping and stepping. I will slap the shit out of you at some point.
And you know, Sido,
Yes, please.
the strange thing is that I gave the example of Otnop. The breaking point was the Asian financial crisis.
Yeah.
And then you move to Tunisia and you realize the breaking point was one angry man who just decided to burn himself. So as you move, you realize even in Somalia, it was women getting up and saying, no, we will not take this. So at the end of the day, you don't know what the spark will be. And by the time people are reaching the place where they have tried everything to the point that someone just decides he's going to burn himself and a revolution happens, none of them knew that it was someone burning himself that was going to do it, because the country had gone through all kinds of shakings. So even for Kenya, it's not possible to predict what it is that is going to cause or cause us to reach the breaking point. And that's why I keep on saying that the president is playing around with very delicate situations. And I would have said that maybe the national intelligence is not briefing him effectively on the danger of what he's doing. But I think he's fully briefed. He has just decided that he's enjoying this game better when he's playing with fire. Yes, he's enjoying playing with fire because he's a consumer of raw intelligence, and yet he continues to play with fire. In the year 2023, we were saying that if we do not take care of what we need to take care of, protests are going to be happening in 2024. In 2024, there were protests. They are growing bigger by the day. There has been a lull, and in that lull, the question that Du was asking, Kenyans had actually given them time. Are you saying you want time? Here is time. Do what you need to do for us. During that entire period, you're just making things worse. So one of the things that they're doing is allowing Kenyans to reach that breaking point. Nobody knows what it is. And sometimes it's a combination of opportunity, fate, God, and everything, that then the nation comes to that place. And I don't think we are far from that.
Do you think there is a need to have a plan in terms of, and this is interesting because I read a very interesting quote the other day, and it said that tradition and revolution cannot exist in the same space, that you cannot do things the same way over and over again that you've done for the longest time if you want some kind of change to happen. And it would be interesting for us to be philosophical about things, but then we also have to look at the reality on the ground, that day after day we cannot have people complaining, because I sit in this space as a journalist and I say, well, it's my job to report about things factually. It's my job to inform. It's my job to take information and relay it, factual truth. But it doesn't mean that we exist out of the reality. That Kenyans every day cannot be crying about the state of things because they don't have anything else to do. That at some point it must be real. That somebody has a problem. I mean, look at it. What are we talking about? Teachers are saying, we're not going to teach next week. If we can't go to hospital and get treated. It's not brain surgery. It's that they want to go to hospital, get treated, and not have to pay more than what is already being deducted from their salaries. It's that parents who are going to term 2 and whose second term fees has been increased 100%. Guys, it's not a joke.
Without warning.
Without warning, 100% increment. That you are paying 18,000 shillings in term 2, and you are going to pay 37,000 shillings in term 2. And how do you get that information? Your son and daughter come home at the end of term 1 with the sheet, the fee sheet. So this is what we're talking about. This is the reality that people are saying we cannot. That people will walk to work. People will park their vehicles because they cannot afford the fuel, and that everything else is affected because of this fuel. So it cannot be that we exist in this continuum and then not look at the reality and say, okay, am I going to keep reporting on the facts? Or are we going to take into consideration what's actually happening in the atmosphere? I'll never forget what Justice Lenaola said once. He said, yes, we make rulings, but we also take into consideration what is happening
Context.
in this space
As
for
we
us
should.
to make a decision. What's happening in this space? So when you say mandamano protest has got to work because of what's going on, there are those who are saying at this point, well, what's your alternative? Is it and that goes, I started off, is it necessary to have that alternative in mind and say, well, this has got to go and this is who? Is it necessary to know right now who the person is or who the people are who are going to come in and fix the situation? Or do you just say, no, this situation right now just needs to end?
You know,
Both of you, yeah.
one of the conversations I was having 2 weekends ago, I was invited to one of the Tukokadi mobilizations, and I remember when I was asked to speak to especially the buddies who are in the space, I told them that if anybody asks you, you're saying Ruto must go so that who can come in, I told them, tell them me. Yes, because I have been telling everybody that you don't know where that narrative of who then will come in when he leaves came from. You can't trace it. You did not discuss it in a boardroom, which means it came from the man you're trying to remove. And he's trying to render you powerless by speaking to the inner you and telling you there's nobody else. Just get used to the idea of me. So that is one. Number two, many times when you're fed up, and you're fed up before the constitutional period or tenure of your leader, it means that something else must happen. The beauty of it is that our constitution anticipated those kinds of things. And so there are mechanisms through which you can create a transitional arrangement as we wait, as we think, as we breathe. You know,
First of all,
even if you're going to be breathing for 3 months,
Just breathe a bit.
just breathing and not getting news about another scandal at SHA and another scandal at wherever, that period can be used to think, you know, to repair the fabric of this nation and to even decide who looks like they're a good caretaker. If at that point the caretaker fails, then we are able to say we need somebody else to take over this job because we have given them an exact job to do and they're not doing it. Are there people in this country who are well equipped, very, very competent, and have goodwill for this nation that can sit on that seat and lead us through a transition? I think they're there. Do they want to be found in the murky waters of the madness that is going on now? No. But I kid you not, the day when you will see this man out, dear Lord, bring it. The day when you will see this man out,
Tell us, said a prayer.
I promise you, they will rise up to the occasion. They will try and bring this country back to order. The same way Baba, in a very misguided way, wanted to avoid bloodshed, wanted to avoid a split of this country, wanted us to go back to order. It's the same way there are very many people in this country who value order, and the truth is they are called to ensure that there's constantly order. Those are the people you find in our judiciary who are constantly working on ensuring that we implement our laws. They're the same people that you find in the different departments of our government, and they're constantly working. They're technocrats. They don't even know how to go outside the procedures because they like order, and they're going to be able to work us through that procedure. I will say, first of all, stop being afraid of what happens afterwards. Stop being afraid of it completely and start planning for it. If you plan for it, you're better equipped for it. But number two, it stops being an ogre and becomes something that you can face. You know, the other part is to break it down into small components so that you're saying, this person has been great with the constitution. How about we declare that when that time comes, we will assign this person the assignment of reminding everyone what our constitution says about this. This person has been great about numbers. Do we allow them to be the caretaker of our monies until that period? Of course, there are procedures and rules on how much money can be expended during that period, who can approve, all those. Do we trust the people that the system is supposed to hand over power to, including our speaker of the National Assembly?
Okay.
Let us start having those conversations, because I mean we saw what happened in Bangladesh where practically everyone was being sent packing. So we must have those conversations, and I'm saying that we don't necessarily have to have those conversations now, especially where Kenyans are so burdened with a lot. They are dealing with daily announcements of corruption, and then also dealing with planning of protests, and also dealing with, am I going to be able to drive my car tomorrow? Am I going to be able to afford my bus fare? Will I be able to even give birth in a hospital, or I have to give birth outside? You know?
Yeah.
So they're dealing with so much. I think burdening Kenyans with everything at once is falling into the trap that this government has created. One of the things they do the best is to give us so much to worry about, so that we don't even have time to strategize.
Stella, is that moment even possible? Because if you look at the Constitution and how it is properly guarded and guided, in the absence of the president is a deputy president. In the absence of the deputy president is a speaker for 90 days. How possible is it to even have a caretaker government, despite, of course, or rather including the kind of profiles that you're painting, judiciary, this and that, AG? How possible is that? Because if you look at jurisdictions that have gone the caretaker government, there have been either coups or serious protests, like Bangladesh, where actually the person that was being hunted had to run away. But in this, properly guided constitutional democracy, how possible is it to have a caretaker regime?
The Constitution must always anticipate order. The Constitution must be designed to make sure that there's order, and the order is foolproof. So the Constitution does not prepare for the day when order will not exist. But when the Constitution fails to deliver that order for our people, and they decide to go extra constitutional to be able to create a new order, one of the things that happens is that the people must sit down and agree on how that order is going to be restored after the danger that they consider the danger towards them is removed. So I can assure you, the Constitution of Kenya as it is does not anticipate that we're going to come to that place of disorder. As a matter of fact, they are hoping that all those safeguards they have put will constantly leave us in the hands of the speaker is a caretaker. He is not a president by any means. As a matter of fact, even the powers he exercises are very limited if you read our laws. So you realize that all those people are caretakers, but in the event that all those people are not trusted, we have also seen that it has happened in other places where they were not allowed to even see the light of day, and they had to run out of the country before a caretaker government was set. So that moment will come.
It'll come.
The question is when. The question is when, and the question is who is going to shepherd us through that period. And I don't think it is far. And I'm truly, truly afraid of that moment, because I cannot believe we have waited until we've gotten to this place where we may not even be able to turn back and say that we'll go under the rules of our constitution to sort this out.
But you're in 10 seconds because our time comes to an end now. Looking into this Tuesday, and what are we expecting Kenyans are still angry. The rain is coming down, but that doesn't stop what has resonated in the minds of people.
Yeah, I think there might be protests. I think Kenyans might come out to protest, but I am sure June 25th is the day Kenyans will be on the streets. Luckily, there's always days. There's also Saba. Yeah. Luckily, we have created a very good culture of resistance, and on days when we know this is when to take care of business. So my urge would be to ask Kenyans that we mobilize ourselves, at least on June 25th. We all come out and say, put an end to this. Let's put an end to this, guys. It's insanity that's going on. June 25th, kila mtu atoke maandamano.
Stella Gara, Wanjiro, thank you for being here with us this morning. Looking at some of these things necessary to do and necessary to talk at 8:02. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.